You pull them out of your system. They have to pull the numbers. They have to send you the numbers. Every week they send you the numbers. They know whether they're doing their job or not.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the use of
Those
KPIs as it pertains to employees, because this is a really important asset in your business and you got to know it's working for you. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, you got an employee, I see it all the time. You got an employee that you do a review with them. You finally get so frustrated because they're not doing their job and they haven't been doing their job for 6 months. And you finally have a review and you have this review and you tell them how much how poorly they've been doing. And they're like, oh, I thought I was doing a great job, because you have no measurable, no context for, are you doing your job or not? All you've got is some vague thing that they're doing and you're kind of following up. But if they've actually got some specific measurables, here's the expectations, they know whether they're doing their job. So that's the first piece is, who wants to go watch a sporting event if you're not keeping score?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You'd get really bored of it after a while. Well, an employee likes to know the score. They want to know how well they're doing. And without actually having that, they usually assume they're doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Let's talk a little bit bigger picture and around the strategy and the goals of the business. Are there specific KPIs that you recommend a business owner consider tracking in their organization?
Yeah, well, normally I'll look at, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you get you to where you need to be, that shows whether or not you're working out. Like a very simple one, easy one to relate to is like an auto repair shop. So it's simply measuring car count, average dollar sale, total sales. You simply start measuring those couple every day. How many cars did we have in? What was our total sales? What was our average dollar sale? You look at a salesperson, any sales activity, how many quotes, what's your quote percentage, what's your sales rate off of that? Just a couple of things that you can do that show you, am I producing the revenue you're producing? Because what ends up happening is you start looking at things and it almost acts like a leading indicator. Okay. So when you're talking about, if you're on an auto shop and you start tracking cars every day, you can see that, oh, we're a little slow. You see, today was a little slow. Tomorrow was a little slow. And you see the number, you start doing something to change things. So you're not slow all month long, kind of a thing. If you're doing it quotes wise, well, you should know, in order to produce whatever revenue you want to produce this year, how many of what thing, how many quotes, how many things do you need to sell, whatever that is, how many do you need all year? Okay, where are we at so far? That way you know whether you're on pace to hit your number, behind your number, that kind of thing.
For people in our viewing audience that are unfamiliar with Dave Farr, I just want to share this with you. He's produced some fantastic results in a number of companies around the United States. And so I want to pose these 2 questions to you, Dave. How often do you encounter a new client who is already using effective KPIs? So that's one question. And the follow-up to that is, once they become your client, how quickly do you implement KPIs in the business?
I would say, I meet lots of business owners. I would say maybe 10% of the time they have some kind of KPI in place.
So how quickly do you implement them once you encounter them as a client?
Almost immediately. That's one of the things that we want to look at immediately, because we need to know if you want your business to produce more, how does it produce more? What things need to happen? We have a chiropractor client. They actually get a lot of referrals from other chiropractors. That's kind of their main lead source, is other chiropractors, because of what they specialize in. And so one of their KPIs was simply meeting with another chiropractor every week. Well, here's the problem. Once you put it together and you start measuring it, things start working, you get busy, right? So if you don't keep paying attention to it, you get busy, you stop doing it. So they got really busy. They more than doubled in size, and so one week goes by, they don't meet with the chiropractor, they don't meet with another chiropractor, another referral source. The next week goes by, they're too busy, they don't do it again. The next week pretty soon 3 or 4 weeks go by, they haven't met with another chiropractor. That's one of the chief KPIs for that business. And all of a sudden, 2 months later, their revenue drops by like 20-30%. And we're going, what's going on? Well, we haven't had as many new patients. Well, why not? Well, we haven't been. So that's why I say it's like a leading indicator. And so you have to go through that learning for them to go, okay, so we just need to make sure that every week, as long as we exist as a business, we are meeting with one other chiropractor every week. Yeah, because if you don't, and as soon as that happens where you don't for 2 or 3 weeks, your revenue is going to drop because that's one of your leading sources of revenue.
You know, when you think about that, a funny analogy that was bounced off me by, I don't remember what the capacity with the individual was that said this, but it was a conversation among business people, and one of these people was asking this question because he was talking about how when it's slow in the organization, it's very easy to work on these things he knows he needs to be doing, and then of course that creates an increase in business, and then he gets busy, and now he's too busy to do any of these things, which is followed by another period of slowness. And one of the people in the group asked, "How often do you eat?" He says, "Every day." He goes, "Well, why? I mean, if you ate yesterday and you're no longer hungry when you go to bed, why bother eating the next day?" And he says, "Well, still need to take care of yourself." And he says, "Well, yeah, you still need to take care of your business." Same thing.
Same thing. It's the same thing. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, it's really hard to figure out how to measure this. It's really hard to figure out how to measure that." No, it's not. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of brainstorming, but there hasn't been a business yet where I can't sit down in an hour or two and have half a dozen to a dozen different measurables for each one easily.
So the lesson here basically is that if you can take time out of your day to eat because it's necessary to sustain what you need to do going forward. The same thing is true in the business. Make that time, stay on top of those things,
Yep.
and start using KPIs, if even on a small level, to get things rolling. And one of the things you
Yep.
said here, Dave, really key is don't overthink this. You can bury yourself in worthless data if you go too far with this.
Right. Start with one or two. That's it. Just start with one or two things that you can easily measure, and then you add to it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, great stuff on KPIs. I hope you guys take this seriously in your business because, as Dave shared, one of the first things he does with any business client he works with, and that ought to be a tip for you as to how quickly you should be implementing this into your business if you're not. Great stuff on KPIs. Kevin Hunter with Dave Ford here on the Business Forum Show. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
This concludes today's live programming on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us for this special broadcast. Heard around the world in more than 70 countries on YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook, and Twitch TV. If you enjoyed a story or guest we had here on Northwest Digital News and would like to strut your stuff on the broadcast, email us today at wainfo2017@gmail.com or call or text 360-545-3501. We're always interested in unique stories, topics, and guests to share with our worldwide audience. Before you go, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and comment on the live stream. And for those of you who'd like to financially support the broadcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Northwest Digital News. We thank you for your patronage. On behalf of Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgeson, Stephanie Hunter, and all the people that made this broadcast possible, I'm Kevin Hunter. Till next time, take care.